So the topic for today's webinar is Accelerated Mobile Pages to Win Search in Search War in 2017. And for leading the session, we have Praveen. Praveen heads digital marketing at Shop CJ, and Praveen has over 15 years of marketing experience working with multiple startups like Baby Oil, Travel Guru, and couple of established companies like Reliance Brands and Outlook. With his core expertise in planning and executing digital campaigns, he has run multiple campaigns across the organizations he has worked with. In his current role at Shop CJ, he is responsible for scaling up the e-commerce business and improving the product offerings to the customers. So I'll hand over the session to you, Praveen. You can take it forward.
Hey, good afternoon, people. Back on Friday after a good lunch. Hope you have a good session and a lot of questions and some discussions as well. So thanks, Divya, for the introduction. Yeah, I started my career at Outlook nearly, but essentially I'm an offline marketer turned online marketer now. I was doing brand marketing for Travel Guru. Online interested me a lot because you could measure it, you could fail, you could do experiments, and that's where my journey began on the online marketing. And ever since, it's been online all this while. And again, there's a great phase which is happening now. The online marketer has now to be a techno marketer as well, because technology is doing a lot of changes, and the marketing person has to wear the technology hat as well. So we will continue with this and take on one of these technologies which came out last year from Google. So through the presentation, we can just run through and understand that. So, you know, so what do we do on mobile? I mean, generally, everywhere around us, when we are traveling, when we're standing at bus stops, you're chatting with friends at restaurants, we're always on the mobile. And what are we doing? We're consuming a lot of content, be it videos, be it images, we're looking for content. So our entire time is always on the mobile. It started with 70, 50, 60. In fact, now for a lot of companies, 70 to 80% of traffic is coming in from mobile. Yes, conversions are lower. The metrics are not as good as the website, but yeah, the improvements are happening there. And since everybody's moving to mobile, it's going to be big. In fact, it's already big right now. And when you search on mobile, what do you see? We see the page loading. And if you look at this page, in fact, I was on 4G and I did this. Even with the 4G connection, a little content loads the first image. If you look at the second image, slowly some other content has started appearing. Then the third image, there's a small text box which has come, and you still don't know what's happening. And then the final image is where it's loading. And this one actually took me around 4 to 5 seconds on a 4G connection. And that shows itself. Even now, a lot of pages don't do well on mobile. In fact, most of the pages start moving haphazardly when it starts rendering. Here, at least they did a very good job on the image and the content on the left-hand side, and they've not loaded the ads and the other things fast enough. But we always find this very frustrating. And when we see this, how do we ourselves react, right? It was a poor experience for me, and I guess for everyone. The first thing which I do is press the back button and see, okay, is there a faster loading page for the same content? Because I can't wait. It keeps moving up and down. My experience was very, very poor. I was reading through Chrismetrics blog, a couple of months back, and what it's shown is that 40% of the people abandon web pages if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. That means in 3 seconds, you've lost 4 people out of the 10 who come to your website. And if it's not mobile friendly, 5 times more people are ready to leave the site. And even a second delay in the mobile rendering lowers conversion by 3%, decreases your page views by 10%, and increases bounce by 9%. All these metrics is really saying, hey, you know what, all the readers or the consumers are moving away from the funnel. In fact, the shocking statistics is the median time around average page load for mobiles is 22 seconds. Well, if you have a good optimized mobile site, it's coming down to 6 to 8 seconds, and that's still a lot. So what do we do? Well, before we say what we do, Google has seen this trend and they're saying, hey, you know what, we are going to focus on the customer and to give him a better experience. In 2015, Google released a new mobile-friendly algorithm which started looking at mobile first. In fact, now Google has started indexing mobile pages first and saying that that's going to be a primary website. And then it'll start indexing your website, desktop website. Well, if you don't have a mobile website, there's no worries. It'll still index your desktop websites, but it's the focus on customer experience which has made Google to move to better experience for the mobile. It's looking at how fast are the pages loading and giving preference to that. It's introduced which snippets, which answers. They're all becoming more popular to give better experience on the mobile. So what's happening is Google also has started focusing on getting a better experience in mobile. If that's the case, we all have to move to see how we can deliver that. So what do we have to do? I think we have to do the basics first, right? We have to change the way we think. First, look at designing the mobile page and then adapt it for the website. Even now, most of us design the website first and then adapt it to the mobile. That has to change. And it goes without saying, you should have a responsive website and of course, optimized mobile pages. Then we have the latest technology. We have to move to AMP quickly if you want to have better impact. Plus, there's another technology which is coming, which is progressive web apps. We have to start moving there too. So there's a lot of talk about AMP nowadays, and what is it? What is accelerated mobile pages? So it was launched in the Feb of 2016 by Google. The work actually started around November 2015. That was a time when Apple and Facebook came up with Facebook Instant and Apple News, which was giving pages instant on the mobile. Google actually worked in close connection with Twitter and they launched it in 2016. A lot of people outside India have started using app. It's an open source project, so that means you can also contribute and it's easy to access and start doing. What does AMP do? That's accelerated mobile pages. It loads the page in an instant. So when you search, bang, the page is right there. So it's like a normal HTML page, but it's stripped off all the flag around it. So it can immediately render on your mobile page. And Google claims that the median load time for an AMP page is 0.7 of a second. That's it's less than a second. And it's very easy to develop. So we can easily and quickly move towards the AMP pages. So how does an AMP page look like? So I've just gathered a snapshot of AMP pages. The first one is the Cosmopolitan AMP page. The second one is a 91 Mobiles AMP page. And the other one is also there. So what I gave here is a sample of different kind of AMP pages. Some people put the image on the top because that's more travel, more attractive. Some guys will put content. And 91 Mobiles has used their AMP pages to try to get e-commerce guys come here, look, and quickly go and say, hey, which mobile do I want? To have a better experience. When you start searching, all of you must have started seeing Thunderbolt sign. And that's what is signifying AMP. And these are live searches which I've done yesterday. I searched for summer fruits. The second result on my search, apart from the ads which are there on the top, showed an AMP page. When I move to people, more people have adapted this technology. And I went to say, hey, I'm going to see the top phones under 20,000. I see 3 of AMP pages in the top 5. That means Google has now started pushing AMP pages, or prefer pushing AMP pages right now to get more visibility. So it's important that we start moving to AMP pages. In fact, even if you look at rich snippets and you start searching for news, you'll see all of them are AMP. I mean, it's quickly moved to AMP. These are the snapshots which I just did today, a few minutes before the presentation, and all, you'll see these snippets are all pointing to AMP. So how does it work? I've left out all the jargoning out, and I said, okay, let's put it in simple language and say, hey, how does it work? What AMP does is it has this JavaScript, and it fixes the components on a page and their sizes so that it can load faster. So what basically it's done, it sets the width, it sets the height, it sets all the other aspect ratios there, and says that, okay, the page is in this format, it's at this size, so I'm going to load it. And that's not going to change. So what happens in that, the browser already knows, okay, it's restricted in that place, and immediately you can fit all the content in it and immediately loads it. So there is no jumping around of content. So there is no delayed loading like you saw on the earlier page. And that's how it's able to give that thing in an instant. So if you just look at the code of an AMP page, you will see there's an AMP page plus there is a canonical which will point to your existing page as well. And so when Google starts crawling it, it knows that this is an AMP page plus there's a canonical which is pointing to the original page. So it can go back and refer more content over there. What also Google has done is it started caching AMP pages on its own servers. So it's not cached on your servers, it's cached on own servers, so that it can render these pages even faster. So if Google has started caching your pages, most of the time it's rendering it from their server. So the customers are not even reaching your website. And that's how it's saving that much more time. And your pages load much faster. So what's the benefits? I think this is like basically a no-brainer, right? If you see the images, or you've seen the search results, Google has started pushing AMP pages up into the discoverability page. So your discoverability increases. Since your page loads much faster, your customers are more engaged. That means the time they spend on your page is going to go up significantly. The bounce rates come down a lot lesser. Your traffic now started increasing. What does all this do? You have more engaged customers, you have more customers who are spending more time. If you are a publisher, hey, that's great. Now you can show him more ads. You can show him more content, which he'll get more engaged. And that means more revenue for you. For e-commerce websites, it will convert. It has a better conversion. So basically for e-commerce website, the top of the funnel starts increasing. That means a lot more people are now coming to the website, and instead of bouncing off from the first visit, they are getting more and more into the website. So your funnel starts becoming bigger and bigger. And a lot more customers have started coming into your funnel. So in that way, AMP is definitely benefiting you to get more customers, more conversions, and it all looks good as of now that we should move quickly to AMP. But there are certain drawbacks. Any page which has dynamic content doesn't work well with AMP pages. So if you have a form, it won't work well. So for e-commerce websites, when they have, the payment flow, that can't be done on AMP pages as of now. No external JavaScript is allowed. That means if you have you're using Google Tag Manager in your existing mobile pages, You just can't put the code there and hope that the analytics will work. Or any other design-based JavaScripts which you want to do on your web page, it's not possible. One, it's a new technology. People are still understanding the limitations of the platform. So you don't have the experts there who's already up there and saying, hey, do this, do that. This doesn't work well. A lot of people are still learning it on the way. You have lesser design control. So when you saw the AMP pages, most of them were very similar looking, right? You had pure text and an image. The other one had the text on top and the image down. And if you look at most of the AMP pages, that's how it is. So since the objective has been to deliver faster content, the design has taken a hit. And what happens, the page looks very similar. You're not able to customize or give experience what you would do on your normal mobile web page. Tracking is evolving. It's not giving the complete data. And until recently, social sharing was not possible for AMP pages. So you're driving traffic to your page, people like it, social sharing is not possible. And this was a big thing which is there because a lot of people are now on social. Be it Twitter, be it LinkedIn, be it Facebook, everybody is moving on Twitter. So this was a big area of concern for all the people who are using AMP pages. So we've done we know what's AMP, what's the drawbacks, what's the positives, and I thought I'll just put some slides out and say, hey, you know what, let's see how to set it up. Setting up the AMP pages is not too difficult. You just have to go to your webmaster page, go onto the dashboard, go to search appearances, and once you click that, you can see here, it's highlighted in green, X-rated mobile pages. Once you click it, it goes to a page. In fact, it automatically checks whether you already have any AMP pages in your site. If you don't have, this is the screen which you will get. So I've used an old account which was there so that if anybody's starting with AMP pages, you can immediately see it there and says get started with AMP pages. Once you click that, it goes to the AMP website. They have a very good detailed website which basically gives you steps that, hey, how to design, how to host, how to make it discover, how does your AMP page get discovered, validation, which is very important, I'll cover that later, structured data and status. So it's that simple. In fact, if you just keep clicking on how do you create your page, it just tells you the steps. So it's very easy to learn. Very, very quickly you can implement it if you already have your existing mobile pages. And the tag looks very similar to a normal HTML pages. You just have to use the libraries which are present in those. I've listed down some essentials which we are covering for the AMP pages. One, once you've done your AMP pages or built it, it's very, very important to validate your AMP pages. If they're not validated, Google will not crawl it. They'll not even know it's there. One, the validation tool is already there in the Chrome browser. The second, you should only push out valid AMP pages. Then you have to look at your normal basic SEO stuff, right? You have to add metadata, ensure that your AMP pages are discoverable, allow crawlers to access your AMP pages. Before you push it out, you can test it whether the AMP pages are loading correctly by Google AMP Cache. And if you're doing video, there's already an inbuilt extension for video as well. So when you go to the AMP page setup, it has a lot of libraries which you can plug and play. And since it's restricted data, you have to use that code as of now. So it's very important to track anything which you do. So can we track AMP pages? Yes, you can track AMP pages. You can use your existing Google Analytics, but it's best to use a different client ID when you set up Google Analytics. Plus, there are already a lot of other companies like Clicky, Link Plus, Adobe, which allow you to track. I have read somewhere that Omniture is also allowing to track AMP pages, but I've not got a confirmation, and that's why I've not put it. The AMP pages and the normal pages are tracked differently. So it's best to use a different client ID. And the tracking right now, it's not yet very advanced, like how we normally track with Google Analytics, but it's getting evolved faster and faster. So we're getting a better quality of information as we are going forward. So should we implement AMP pages? It depends on what kind of business you are. If you're in the business of content, you definitely have to implement AMP pages. There is a great advantage in doing that because content is mostly static. It's very easy. You will very quickly start ranking higher in the search results. So content, website, blogs, they're all great. AMP is great for you. What about e-commerce companies? E-commerce companies has got a lot of dynamic content that is not going to be suitable for AMP pages, right? But e-commerce companies too should do AMP pages, but they have to do it very selectively. What is the place which will drive them maximum customer visits? It's going to be their category landing pages, which are not dynamic in nature and can be made static. So for example, if you're doing saris and you want to do a great page on the kind of saris which are available on your website, I think those can definitely be made as AMP pages because it gives you good visual impact plus content. So you make your category pages AMP, you make your listing pages AMP. But after that, it's very difficult since there's a lot of dynamic content. So depending on which kind of business you are in, you can take up AMP. So AMP for a website or a content publisher is the most mandatory. They should do it. I mean, there's no two ways about it. E-commerce websites can still not do it and still get away by having a great adaptive mobile website. And if you look at world over and even in India, the companies who have moved to AMP first are news-related or content-related websites. So economictimes.com, Indian Express, VDiff, NDTV.com, or First Post. These are all news websites which are content-related who have moved quickly and taken up AMP. So what's the latest on AMP? Earlier, the social sharing was not there. This was released just in Feb. So basically, it's just come out towards the end of Feb, where now you can start sharing. You can start sharing. Plus, it was showing the original source of content. So what was happening? A lot of publishers felt that Google was not giving them the traffic because it was rendering cache pages from the system without even the customer or the user coming to their pages. So what happened is they came up and they realized that, hey, this is the most important thing. The publishers need to get or allow the publishers to show that they can come back to the pages. So now if you see, there is an AMP page, there is a way the publisher can go, and if you're a customer, you can go and share it, you can see where's the original content. So in that way, customers have started coming to, so the publishers are not losing customers. So that's the most important thing. It's available for Google iOS. In fact, it has already come out with Android. I've seen some pages over the past few days that has started using this technology as well. So actually, it's wrapped up pretty quickly. It's given you guys a basic understanding of AMP. What I'm going to do is I'm taking you through some links and after that, we can take the questions as well. Basically, if you want to know anything about the AMP project, the website www.ampproject.org is there. It gives you detailed information. It's very easy to access. In fact, if you want to contribute, you can do it there as well. So it's the first open source from Google, so you can easily participate in that. Validation is one of the most important things in the AMP process. So I've just put on around 4 links which you can use for AMP. It's always good to test your mobile pages. So there's mobile pages, and there are already, if your website is on Drupal or WordPress or anything, you can easily add the plugins. They're already ready-made and there, so it's easy to plug and play. Plus a couple of other website links. Once you get this presentation, you can go through this one. So right now, let's take up some questions for another 10-15 minutes, and then we can wrap it up.
Sure. Thank you. So I would like everyone to put in your questions in the questions panel on the right-hand side, and I'll read out the question. So first question is from, give me a second, I'm just reading out the questions which we have received in the through the session. So first question is about, my website is 70% responsive. Do I need to do AMP for that?
So as I said, if you are a content website, you should do AMP. Responsive websites are good, but it still loads a little slower. I think your load time, if you do a responsive website, is around 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 at the most. But your AMP page is going to be instant. And also, you don't have to do all your pages in AMP format, right? You can do your main pages in AMP format, like the way I said for e-commerce. You don't need to do the entire website, but your main pages can be in AMP format, and you can implement it selectively. And it's very important to move into AMP.
Thank you. Next question is from Supratim. He is asking, we are getting our website pre-designed. Considering the drawbacks of AMP, do you suggest we adopt AMP right at the beginning, or do we wait for some time till the limitations are fixed?
So the limitations are fixed as we talk, right? It's open source, it'll keep doing. And also, I recommend you have your normal website and the AMP together. To move from a normal website to the AMP website, it's not a big stretch. The limitations will get over, there will be new changes and new happening, but it's important that you start right away. Because the more traffic which comes to you initially itself, your page ranking improves. And going forward, the more people are coming to your website, Google itself will understand, hey, this page is a lot more important. So why wait when you can start right now?
Thank you. Moving to next question by Prateek. He's asking, I have a blogging site which in near future will have more functionality. Can I go back to AMP pages, to normal pages later? Or since the AMP page website is not suitable for dynamic websites?
Could you just repeat the question?
Sure. Prateek is asking that he has a blogging website and which will be having more functionalities in the near future. So he wants to know whether he can go back from an AMP page to a normal page at a later stage.
Yeah, sure, you can do that. So when you build your first AMP page, in the canonical, you will point back to yourself, right? Saying that, hey, I am the AMP page and my reference URL is the same. When you come back with your other pages, which is non-AMP for your website, you just have to move and change the canonical. And that should solve the purpose.
Thank you. The next question is from Neha. Neha wants to know if AMP works for B2B websites as well?
So AMP should work for B2B websites, but the question is, what's the customer want, right? I mean, what kind of searches and what kind of experience is he doing? And if I'm in B2B today, I'm sure most of them have not moved to AMP. When you move to AMP, it helps you get up the search ranking faster. So basically, the quicker you adapt to new technology, the faster you get you get to beat competition much faster. And I'm sure it will help you.
Thank you. Next question is from Jagannath. He wants to know if we are using WordPress or Drupal, is it easy for us to convert certain pages into AMP, maybe using some plugins?
Yes, so there are actually plugins. In fact, if you look at the presentation, towards the end, I've given you two URLs, one for Drupal and one for AMP. And it's very easy to do that. So you just have to go visit the pages, the plugins are there, download it, use it, and your AMP pages are ready for Drupal and
yes, WordPress. So next question is from Nikhil. He wants to know that he is into real estate business and have their projects in Mumbai. So will having an AMP page for some pages of their website will help them?
Sure. In fact, the way real estate is moving, it started getting very rich on content. I know a lot of real estate companies which are moving to Pinterest to showcase their projects. And AMP works very well with Pinterest, LinkedIn, all these graphic websites. So it's good for him to move there.
Thank you. Moving to next question from Bhupendra. He wants to know that his website has ad servers to serve banner and text ads. Will that impact AMP implementation?
So there are right now there are limited set of ads which you can serve through AMP pages. So not all kind of ads can be done. So once you go through their library, you will know what kind of ads will be able to serve. So it's not your full stack of ads which will come. There'll be only a certain page of ad, a certain type of ads which you can serve. But I think that will be soon solved, right? Because that's going to be the biggest concern for anybody in the business, that if AMP pages are not driving revenue, how would you do it? So there are certain partners who are already there. If you go to the AMP project page, there are a list of kind of partners or serving partners of ads.
Thank you, Praveen. Moving to next question by Sneha. My company has mobile apps for various clients. How can an AMP benefit me? Can I create landing pages for each client using AMP?
So the mobile app is different, right? I mean, the mobile app, actually somebody downloads it and it's hosted on the phone. The AMP is a mobile website. So if you have a mobile website, it works well there. They're two different technologies. What I would suggest is start looking up into progressive web apps if your focus is on the app side. Again, it's a faster, you don't need to download it. It's like you can bookmark your app, it's that simple in terms of a customer experience. So AMP pages are not for the app, mobile app, but if you're focusing on mobile app, it's better you look at progressive web apps and start using them.
Thank you, Praveen. Moving to next question from Abhishek. He is working on a WordPress website and implemented app in last 20 days but somehow the data is not showing in his Google Webmaster AMP section. So what can be the possible reason? He has also done it on another website which has script on every page. And also a form. Will it work in a website, in a page which has form in it?
So forms are currently not allowed in AMP, and also form is dynamic content, right? So AMP right now, the way it's structured is dynamic content is not in the form, not allowed, so it won't be working with AMP. For the first question, I think you have to just check the header. I'm not the technical guy. It's basically, there is some part in the header which you have to include so that it checks that, oh, whether it's an AMP page or no. If that's done properly, it starts showing up there.
Great. Thank you so much, Ravi. Moving to next question. Hi, if I use an AMP page, how will it affect the quality of score and how useful it will be for me and my campaigns if I'm targeting both mobile and desktop user?
So the AMP page is only for the mobile. There is no desktop version for it. The quality score, right now Google has not come out with any directive saying that it's going to impact quality score. But what we have seen is whenever you start searching, it's throwing up AMP pages faster and more higher in the ranking. Though there's no direct quality score attached, Google has started pushing AMP pages up the order in terms of giving customer a better experience. And looking at what Google has been doing for the past 2 years, it has started focusing more and more on customer experience. I'm sure they will be pushing up more and more AMP pages. So it's for the desktop, you have to do your normal page. For the mobile, you should have a normal page plus the AMP page.
Thank you very much. Just before asking the next question, I want to launch out a poll for people who are interested in digital marketing course. Just fill out in a yes or a no, or if you are already a participant of our digital marketing course. And also, people, you can post in your queries in the questions panel. We are answering the queries at this point of time. So, next question is from Snehal. Snehal wants to know what are the sizes suggestions for making a page AMP page.
So once you go through the AMP, how to build the AMP pages, the size is all there and it's fixed for everyone. So it's the same format for everyone. So that's why I said there is not much flexibility when it comes to designing of AMP pages. It's the same code for everyone. The image sizes are the same. You can just move. So it's like building blocks. So you can move it up and down, but rest of all the sizes are the same.
Thank you. Next question is from Divya. She wants to know if I have a site that has a lot of heavy content and it has an easy option to have an AMP page with really minimal content which links to a regular page. So you are just using the AMP page to get traffic. Is this something Google will penalize me for?
No, Google will not penalize you for it. I mean, it's actually your content. You're just giving them a way to render it better. Plus, the AMP is a Google project. So there's no way Google is going to penalize you unless you're trying to do something very different where you're loading some other content and is actually pointing to a very different content.
Thank you. Moving to some other questions. Give me a second. Puneet wants to know, does AMP works with Mozilla and Firefox?
I've not seen too much of it, so I don't think it works right now with Mozilla and Firefox.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we are done with the questions. So let's wind up the session. Thank you, Praveen, for leading such a great session for everyone. And I hope this brings a lot of light upon the new topic, which most of the people are not aware of, which is AMP. And thank you everyone for attending the session. We'll meet up next Friday for another webinar, and have a great week until then. Bye-bye. Bye, Praveen. Thank you so much.